Hello, people. How are you doing today? My name is Sharon Combs with UCDI Leadership, a subsidiary of Do Something Daily. I'm here with Siobhan Robles, empowerment strategist, and today we're going to talk about audience recognition. We've been in a series that dealt with T skills, which are transferable skills, everything from consistency to communication to competencies to how those items converge and help you find your sweet spot. Last week, we spoke on emotional intelligence. And so today we're going to build on what we talked about last Saturday, and we're going to introduce audience recognition. A lot of times people have opportunities, and because you don't recognize the audience that is A, bringing you the opportunity, the audience that B, you are using to vet the opportunity, then many times we may miss the opportunity, or we may get information that is not suitable for what we're trying to use it for. And so without further ado, let's just get into it, Siobhan. When I say audience recognition, what are some thoughts that readily come to your mind?
Well, immediately, I know when I think of audience recognition, I'm thinking of someone who either is like reading or perceiving your information. That's your audience. Yes. So if you're writing something, who's your reader? If you're speaking to someone, who's your listener? That's your audience recognition. Like, what is their level of understanding? What is their position in relation to you and what you're trying to do and the information that you're trying to communicate to them? Because all of those are strong determining factors when it comes to recognizing your audience and their ability to receive or receive and perceive your information.
Yes. When I think of audience recognition, I'm right along those same lines. Because when I get to speak, definitely, when I go places, you have to use audience psychology. That's something I learned from Delatoro McNeil, during the Crush the Stage boot camps. But you have to be able to transition or pivot and adjust for your audience. Mm-hmm. That may mean your language. That may mean you can't just hit them with a topic. You have to introduce the topic to make sure everybody's understanding of said topic is the same. Something as simple as success. People's like, I want to be successful. Well, you have to recognize your audience, because my 20-year-old self talking about success is extremely different from my this age self. Notice I did that. My this age self.
I like that.
Success is completely different.
Absolutely.
And so you may have to make sure that what you're talking about, that you and your audience have the same idea, that you're not swimming in two different directions.
I love that.
And so I always think with audience recognition, as far as audience psychology goes, you want to be sure that the person you're talking to, the receiver of the message, that y'all have the same idea of the topic, of the subject of said conversation. And so before we get to the workforce, can we talk about relationally?
Yeah.
Audience recognition. Like, what are some ways you've learned? Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it, because I don't care how much professional growth you have. If you don't have personal growth that's commensurate, that's equal to that thing, or that grows with it, then more than likely you will either sabotage, forfeit, or it'll just slip through your hands like sand. So what are some ways relationally some ways that you've learned and you see oh, I need to adjust this relationally? It could be, well, actually, I'm not going to say what are some ways that benefit people relationally on recognizing their audience, whether it's a significant other, whether it's a child, whether it's a sibling? What are some ways that you vet and kind of be like, okay, this audience needs an adjustment?
I love that. I think part of relational audience recognition is to understand first of all, when you're talking to someone, whether that's a parent, whether that's a sibling, whether that's a friend, whether that's just a coworker that you're trying to build that relationship with, is understanding what is the purpose of your communication with that individual. Like, what are you trying to achieve from that communication? Because that's going to let you know where you actually go. So I think a lot of times where people make mistakes is that they don't really consider the purpose of their communication and who that person is that they're trying to talk to. And so you can't have, I don't want to say this. If I'm discussing my goals and my dreams, I cannot speak $1 million goals to someone who only has an hourly mindset. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get frustrated. They're not going to understand where you're coming from. You may be perceived as being cocky. The whole intent of your communication is off, because for one, it's like, well, why? What is your purpose of that? So when you're discussing certain things or thinking of discussing certain things with people, you literally have to ask yourself, so if I'm a call, like I know, Sharon, I know I can call you and be like, well, Sharon, so I had this dream and I want to do this and I want to accomplish this and I want to travel here. I know the purpose of my communication, for one, is to share with you some things. I know, for two, that you have the insight, the intuitiveness, the capacity to be able to not only receive what I'm saying, but be able to regurgitate that back to me in a way that's actually going to help me grow. So I know that that's going to be my purpose of having that communication with you. I can't have that same conversation with someone that I just met on the street, because it's not going to be the same. So you honestly have to look at what that is, because I think of communication, and many times, and most people don't think of it this way, is either like a game of archery or darts. You have this bullseye, which is the whole intent of why you're telling a story, but you out here throwing things way out on the edge, and then you wonder why you leave that conversation frustrated. Well, I mean, what were you really trying to get when you communicated that to them? Because that's going to let you know a lot of things. Are you saying that because you want to make yourself sound good, because you're kind of bragging in a way? Are you saying that because you're trying to come to a solution in a certain way? Like, what is it that you're actually trying to get? And so I think when you first understand it as of that, then you can get to who is my reader, or who is my listener, who's the person I'm talking to, and what is their level of understanding. And so when you get that, that's going to make that conversation so much easier and so much better. My friends cannot come to me. I have a friend that's pregnant right now. She cannot come to me and start asking me stuff about pregnancy. Sis, I don't know. I have never been. So I can tell you what I read. I can tell you what I've seen. I can tell you what other people have told me, but I can't speak to you from a place of experience. So if the intent is Siobhan's a good listener, and I want to talk to her because she's going to listen to me and she's going to make me feel heard and she's going to make me feel understood, that is an appropriate reason to have that conversation with me. But if her purpose is I'm trying to get some insight because I'm scared, oh no, sis, like you're in the wrong area.
I do that. One of the things I learned, even with refereeing basketball, you know, I do coach individuals. I do have the opportunity to speak. I'm an author. And so we'll talk about something out of the book, Hold Your Form, which is who are you talking to and who am I talking to? And we'll get into why I say those differently. But one of the things that happens often with refereeing is, you know, people will bring me things. And I learned this when I was working with young people in the group home. When people would come and they will bring me complaints. And I have to, audience recognition. Does this audience want me to listen and just listen? Are they just needing to, you know, is this a cathartic experience for them? Is this something where they just need to release? Does this audience need a solution? Like, what does my audience need? Right. And therefore, once I recognize my audience, I can recognize how to best serve that audience. But people will come and bring stuff to me, and they would be so serious and so sincere and just so raw. And, you know, I wasn't on this side of life yet. And so I would just look at them. I'd be like, I'm the wrong audience for that. You know, because I am not the tea person. You know, like, I'm not gonna say I've never had tea. Right. I don't try my best to serve up tea. So I'm not the tea person. For those of you out there who are listening, please feel free to share this video. It means I am not the one to get a piece of gossip and be like, how fast can I run? Let me tell you. So I'm not tea person. Right. So if they're telling me something, I'm trying to think, how do I serve my audience? And if they just want to tell me tea, I'm not thirsty.
Correct.
I'm not thirsty. I don't have a sore throat. I don't like that tea. We're great aren't friends. So I would just tell them, hey, I'm not the audience for that. And what I'm saying is you're giving me information I can do nothing about. I can do nothing with. And sometimes relationally or just socially, we share things with people and they can do nothing with that information. And oftentimes, like, that's audience recognition right there. In the workplace, though, that transfers. Correct. If you're doing that in the personal life, Then when you go to work, you in the break room and you begin to share information and pass things on. And when you start being in leadership, it's really important because now your audience are people who report to you. Mm-hmm. And you have to hold that confidence. Correct. You cannot just, so you have to recognize your audience there. Correct. So how do you, so when people are bringing it to you, so you tell your friend, mm-hmm. you tell your associates and your friends, that's not my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. Professionally, once you recognize your audience and they're bringing you information that you cannot properly help with, how do you navigate that?
If I'm being honest, in the same exact way. I really do. So that was a growth thing for me. Because before, like, I'm not a tea person either. I never have been, and I never will be, because I don't understand the purpose of that. Like, to me, I'm just like, why are you giving me that? That's extra stuff for me to hold that doesn't serve me in any positive way. So why would I need to hold on to that? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. And so before, what I would do is just not say anything. I would just sit there and let that person talk. What I came to understand when it is in a non-conducive way and you are present in that conversation, you are complicit in that conversation. And that took me a while to learn. So when I understood that my name was brought up in situations that I never said a word about, but I didn't actually remove myself from that, I learned, you know what? I'm going to stop you right now, because are you to help you with this, or are you just needing to vent? Like, I need to know one of those things, because either way, it needs to be solution-based. And I realized for me, I'm a solution-based communicator. So if you bring me something for the sake of just bringing it, and then you just want me to listen so you can turn around 5 hours later or 5 days later and say the same thing, I can't do that. I'm a solution-based communicator. So if you're not looking for a solution to whatever it is that you are trying to get off of your chest or to release from you, then I'm not the right person for that. I'm just not. And I don't want to be the right person for that. I don't ever want to be the go-to person for things that are not serving other people's greatest good or my greatest good. And so what I learned even in the workplace is when you set that standard, people will avoid you at all costs. And at first it used to bother me because I'm like, dang, folks don't want to talk to me. Like, I walk in a room and there's a whole conversation. All of a sudden the conversation got smaller. And then as I matured, as I got wiser, I realized that's a great thing, because my peace of mind was better. My work experience was better. My promotions came faster because I was a person that they knew did not divulge in that. And that's a problem for some people. A lot of times when you're in the workplace, you're looking for promotions, you're trying to get advancement, but you can't expect to be promoted to an eagle position when you are loving the level of pigeons. You can't do that. And I'm not giving one like a bad name or a bird or whatever the case is, but it really is the sake of, you have to understand what, especially in the workplace, what is it that you're there to do? Are you there to make friends and gossip, or are you there to further your career and make advancements? Because 9 times out of 10, you can't do both. Like, you can't. You can't be the go-to gossiper, and you can't be expected to be elevated to certain positions, because you're not going to know how to navigate both of those worlds. One is going to take precedent over the other. So that was me, and it was a learning experience for me.
I love that, Siobhan. And I'm gonna dive deeper into 2 of the things that you just said. Hey, listen, if you're out there, please share this video. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody that's growing in leadership, if you're somebody who's been promoted and you're dealing with different frustrations or feeling misunderstood because you said something, come hang out with us. Come hang out with us for the next 45 minutes. We're going to have this conversation, and I guarantee you, you're going to come away with real life aha moments right now, real time, that you can apply in your life. This show, it's knowledge and nonsense. Is what we're doing knowledge, or is what we're doing nonsense? And we want people to be able to apply the principles. On Tuesdays, we're inside the department. On Saturdays, we're outside the department, because you don't live your whole life in the department. And so one of the things Siobhan said was, initially, she was like, man, everybody stopped talking. And immediately you may feel like, oh, see, they stopped talking because you're not cool. No, not at all. They stopped talking because that conversation was nonsense. But what happens is people see that, upline sees that, and then they begin to have the conversations with you that are promotion oriented. They begin to bring you into conversations, and that's what we're doing today. No shade. We're bringing you into a conversation that helped us navigate leadership, changes, promotion, going into business, life even, and coming out, growing just a little more each time. And now looking over the shoulder and being like, man, that's a lot of ground we covered. But it's because of these things that are intangible that affect things tangibly. My first promotion, not my first promotion, but I actually became a supervisor. I was given a supervisor position that I did not even apply for, because when the rest of the individuals and the counselors were gossiping about the director, I heard it and I left. Like, I left the room and I didn't tell anybody else what they were gossiping about. Do you know, maybe 2 weeks later, that director called me into his office. I had to go to a different location and go into his office, and he told me he wanted me to be the supervisor of that house. And I was like, what? And he's like, I want you to be the supervisor. And I was like, well, because I was still relatively new. I'm like, there are other people there. And he was like, no. And he asked me, he said, do you know why you're getting this promotion? And I was like, no, because I didn't know. I'm just being transparent. I didn't know. And he said, because it stopped with you. I said, what? And he was like, it stopped with you. And he said, people are saying this, this, and that. And I was kind of nervous because I wanted to act like I didn't know what they were saying. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say. And then I just said, you know what? They are saying that. And I mean, I heard it. He said, I know you heard it. He said, but it stopped with you. They told you, but you didn't tell anybody. And from that, I got a raise and a position simply because I chose not to be in that conversation. That's audience recognition. And it's at different levels. We're going to talk about also, let's do a commercial, because see, I get passionate about this, but we're also going to talk about audiences in like frontline, mid-management, executives.
Yes.
And when you're speaking to them in the workplace, they're looking for different things.
They are.
And you have to recognize your audience before you speak. Before you speak. So let's take a quick commercial. And when we come back, let's talk about how audience recognition is in vetting who our audience is as far as organizational structure and the needs of said level of the organization structure. Absolutely. You all right with that?
Yes.
So guys, we'll be right back. And we are back. And so let's go ahead and let's help some of our individuals out there who are in the work field, definitely in sterile processing. What's up, CS Nation? Much love for you. Much love for you. What about, when you are in a workplace, you have your frontline employees, implementation level employees. These are individuals who no one is reporting to them. They're getting communication top down. They're receiving instructions, receiving tasks. And so then you have your your managers, your supervisor, manager, assistant manager, that level, mid-management. And then you have your executive team. When you're speaking to your executive, you have clients now. So when you're speaking to like your clients who are telling you how they want things to be, what are some of the things that you listen for? How do you recognize a client without you knowing that they're a client? Does that make sense?
I like that. Ooh, how do you recognize a client without knowing that they are a client? I pay attention to a lot of different things. I'm a word person. So I'm paying attention to certain keywords, certain structures of how they structure sentences. And I'm looking to see when they're speaking, I am listening for pain because I recognize that I am an antidote. I am a solution to that. So whenever someone is speaking on whatever they're speaking on, I'm trying to recognize where my solution, where I'm a painkiller for them in those certain instances. So there's a lot of moving things that are happening at the same time, because yes, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm not listening just to respond because I want to understand where you're coming from. So I am listening to you. I want to hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm also like, okay, so I know this person is speaking to me for a specific reason. What is it? Because at the same time, like, I'm trying to figure all these things out at the same time. Okay, what is it that they're actually trying to communicate? What is their position? So are they wanting me just to listen to them? Are they wanting me to come up with a solution to that? What is my solution to that? Like, it's a lot of different things. I'm trying to understand the purpose and the intent behind their communication the entire time they're doing it. And based on the level that they're at, that is the type of solution that I'm going to offer. So I have someone who is a brand new employee that is complaining about a specific thing, someone who's in management that comes to me and complains about the same thing, and the owner of that company that comes to me and complains about the same thing. Even though it is the exact same problem across the board, I am going to offer 3 very different solutions based on who they are, where they are, and their ability to solve that problem at their level. And a lot of times I think that's where people misunderstand certain things. You're given entry-level solutions to C-suite level executives, and it's not working that way. Or you're expecting someone who's in mid-management to handle things that someone on the lower level would. So you have to understand your audience. You have to understand what their title and what their position is in regards to the problem that they're bringing to you, so that you can offer up the best possible solution where they are. And sometimes, because we are individuals, and the more knowledge that you know, the more you're trying to squirt out stuff to let them know that you know certain stuff. But is that really solution-based? Are you really solving a problem, or are you just saying a lot of words because it makes you feel good?
Right. And in doing so, you actually lose your audience.
There we go.
Because they're looking, if it's executive, if it's a client or executive, they're looking for specific solutions.
Very specific.
And you waste time. The more people have on their plate, the less time they have to waste. I'm going to say it again for the people in. Look, I'm going to say it again. The more people have on their plate, the less time they have to waste.
Correct.
And so if someone from the executive team, your director, your surgical services director, you're having a conversation with them about something that went wrong, that's not the time to say, well, Tammy was late again. Tammy is always late. You have just made this about your angst and your problem. And so now the director, being the responsible director that he or she is going to try to help solve your problem. But you missed your audience because your audience was looking for a solution. And when directors and business owners come across people who can provide solutions, they are like, yes, I found one. So you stayed in a place when actually the door opened, the trap door opened for you to go up. And instead of you going up, you brought somebody. I hope you guys can hear what I'm saying. And so when a director, when they're asking problems, they just want solutions. They want to know what happened. They may even want to know what went wrong. Okay, what went wrong? Someone was late. So this is what we did. And this is what we're going to do in the future.
Correct.
When you have many tasks, you have less time to just, they always late. No. Don't be mad at me. But like, that's an entry-level frustration. Correct. Even management that has that frustration, you can't just keep saying that while you're out on the floor or while you're managing your team or whatever, because that's going to export to your team. Audience recognition means that if you are in leadership, you don't need to take somebody that you're in leadership over and go and be like, man, sure, they always, well, they don't even make sense. I don't know why they're trying to implement that. It's not going to, no, that's not the right audience. Siobhan, I see you have some things you want to say about that.
No,
people don't know they undermine their own self. Like you say you want to grow, but when you do that, you are kicking your legs from underneath yourself. And if you don't know, you're going to blame somebody else. They never give me an opportunity. They probably give it to you every day, but you don't recognize the audience. So
that part, I have seen more people lose positions of elevation because they did not recognize their audience. One of the best things that you can learn to do when you get into certain supervisory or leadership positions is learn to compartmentalize. You have to, especially if you're friends with people. I don't care how great of friends we are outside of a workplace. If I'm in a leadership position over you within this business, I cannot discuss stuff with you as if we're both on an entry level, because you're hurting yourself in two different ways. You really, really are. So for one, what you're communicating to that person that is underneath you is that you are not a trustworthy individual. And they're
right. Come on.
If you're discussing things, C-suite problems with an entry-level person, as if y'all are both entry-level people, you're letting them know that you cannot contain, like you don't have the ability to solve certain things. You don't have the ability to separate those two things. And so you really have to be very cautious of that. And I've seen that. I've watched that. And it is like a slow train wreck, because you can see it. You can see it happening for people who are so desperate for connection that you'll try to get it at any cost in certain jobs. And you have to understand that that's not, leadership comes at a cost. Ownership has a price attached to it. There's a cost for everything. And sometimes walking these journeys alone or a little bit lonelier and not being able to discuss things is just part of what it is. You have to understand and learn your audience, because I really feel like that's a lot of times why people don't get to certain I've seen it. I have seen it. You become friends with us. Even if you're friends with your supervisor, you shouldn't be telling them all your personal stuff of what you did over the weekend, even if you are friends, not while you're at work, because then they're not going to elevate you, because they're going to feel like, well, if you're that comfortable telling me that, is that the type of person that I want in this leadership position? So if you're wondering why you've been at a job and you cool with all the managers and all the supervisors, but everybody else is getting elevated, around you, you might want to take a step back and make sure that you are considering your audience before you ever open up your mouth. And ask yourself, what is the purpose of me sharing this? What is the purpose of me telling this? What is the purpose of me communicating this? Because if it is not going to be to help or to grow, you might for a second put your hands over your mouth. Just keep them there. Hold your form, man.
Yes, because it's not necessary to say. And again, with audience recognition, those are the things. One of the things for those of you in leadership out there, whether you're a lead tech, whether you are a supervisor, sometimes because you've been promoted from within, you have these relationships, and previously you did speak about different things in the break room. But as you become a leader, now you have to not only guard the information that you've been given, if it's not a task, you have to guard some of the information you're going to be privy to that comes with your position. And you have to guard the trust, is what Siobhan is saying, because then you're going to want somebody to be like, well, they didn't even come tell me. Why would they come tell you? When those individuals were bringing me their tea when I was promoted to supervisor, and they were bringing me gossip about the director, I was like, I left, but I knew in that moment I need to keep all of them away from my beverage closet. They can't handle my liquids. I need to keep them all out of my beverage closet because they're spilling tea. And so when that happens, that's part of recognizing your audience too. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything. If you share something with somebody and you hear it and you didn't tell it to the person you heard it from, don't be mad at the person you heard it from. Just recognize that audience wasn't the audience for you. That audience doesn't need to know any of your business. They don't need to know, any of your business. And so don't be mad over that. And if it happens more than 2 or 3 times and you still mad at them, I'm going to ask you to take some ownership and realize they're consistent. You are expecting your audience. You're not recognizing your audience. That audience is consistent. So if you have a friend who's always telling your business, you cannot be mad at that friend. That friend is consistent. You have to adjust. You're the one not recognizing your audience. And so there's a tool that I use, and it's simply, it's on the screen. It just says, who are you talking to? So when you're in leadership and you're giving information out, who are you talking to? When you're talking to your director, you know what? Boom, boom, boom. Client, boom, boom, boom. Bullet points. This, past, where we are, what it's going to look like, timeline. That's it. Who are you talking to? When you're talking to a direct report, this is what we need. This is when I need it by. You know, you're giving instructions. On one point, you're getting instructions. On another, you're giving. So who are you talking to? And make sure, and that's why I say it's way, TT, because it's directional. Which way do you want this to go? Sometimes if you're a little hot, I have to say, who am I talking to? Which is wait. It's different because now I'm telling myself, hold on, hold your form. Mm-hmm. Just because I want to say it, is this what needs to be said right now? And so, go ahead.
Repeat what you just said. Just because I want to say it doesn't need to be said right now. I'm telling you, when I tell you I have my Hold Your Form shirt on all day yesterday, there are times that I have to remind myself of that. And I know I've told you that before, because with your Hold Your Form, I combine like everything behind the Hold Your Form message or book with things that my brother told me, which was don't ever allow someone to cause you to step outside of yourself. And that is a part of, you have to know and understand you. You have to be able to recognize your own triggers. Siobhan wants to say a lot of things a lot of the time, but then I have to step back and say, okay, so if I say this particular thing at this time with this tone in this manner, what am I really trying to achieve? Because yes, I may be nice, nasty, and read them up and down, and I feel good about that interaction. But what is going to be the residue of that interaction?
Yes.
And is it really worth that moment of satisfaction? Is the outcome of that worth that moment of satisfaction? And I think even when someone is coming to you with some foolishness, I mean, so me and my business partner were talking about this yesterday, because I said, look, I'm the type of person, you come at me with some foolishness, I'm going straight to the source. I'm not even going to respond to you, because for one, if someone is coming to me and bringing me foolishness, talking about what other people, a whole bunch of other people said, what you just did is you opened up my eyes to you. So you let me know that I can't ever trust you with any of my personal information based on the way that you just approached me. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Thank you for that. Definitely not mad at you, but I do appreciate the fact that now I am open to how you operate, so I know that I can entrust you in that way. Doesn't mean I'm not going to communicate with you. Doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to you and be nice to you. It just means that I can't trust you with certain levels. I can't trust you.
And this happens professionally too.
And that's what it is.
It limits the capacity in which we can communicate to you.
That's that part. You let me know that I can't give you access to certain levels of me and my information based on your interaction that you just had. But the way that you squash all that, because I will squash foolishness quick. I am quick to do that, because I'll go straight to the source. And if you close by, I'm going to go straight to the source in front of you. So I'm not going to say, hey, they said. It's not going to be a messy thing. Hey, this is information that has come to me that this is an issue that exists, or this is what you said, or this is what is going on. That is not accurate. So I want to come to you so we can find a resolution to this.
How do we resolve this
further? Yes. So you know what I'm saying? And so when you do that, not only does that show your own maturity, but you just earned respect with that person. And the simple fact that you didn't throw that other person under the bus lets them know, for one, I'm not about that life. So don't come at me with that. But also, you know that I am going to trust and protect you as well, because I didn't throw you under the bus. So I think there's different levels of how that actually works. But yeah, I don't have time for that. Like for me, I'm just like, I am an energy person too. So I'm just like, first of all, I don't have time for your negativity to be coming to me like that. But at the second time, I'm like, I just don't want to be that person, because I know we all grew up knowing that, oh, you want the tea, go and ask this person. Oh, you know, they always got the facts, or they always.
And you know, let me tell you, everybody knows who the messy person is at work. Everybody knows who the person is they have to clean up after at work. You know who is the damage control person and who is the damage. You know what I'm saying? You know who's the DC and who's just the D. You know, right? You know what you're going through. And here's the thing, like if you really don't know, you're probably more of the damage. You know what I'm saying? You know,
more of the problem.
You're aware. So I mean, but like, so why is this important though? Like, because I know why is this important? Why is it important to recognize your audience? Because people are like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And so when I'm just going to go into it. Why this is important is because people are like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And sometimes they really do believe they are not being given the opportunities. But you may be given the opportunities more time than you know, but because you don't recognize your audience. You know, there are plenty of people who've been working at a place for 15, 20 years. And you know all the kids' names of the directors. You know, the director knows your kids' names. They send them birthday cards and they're like, hey, how's Johnny doing? Hey, is Tom graduating? He's about to graduate. How's Rashawn? You know, he's still, you know, whatever it is. Did he make it into law school? So they know what's going on with you and your children. They know they love you, but they don't know you in the capacity you're wanting them to know you in because you haven't recognized your audience. You haven't recognized that they're looking to see critical thinking skills. They're looking to see your ability to handle pressure, your ability to show initiative and not wait on somebody to tell you what to do. You know, and a lot of times you're waiting for permission to do something that you know how to do. And so they don't know you the way you want them to know you, even though they know you and love you and they think you're a great person. So when the promotion comes, you're not even on the short list. And you're like, they're looking over me. You know, you're standing in the wrong place. You didn't recognize your audience. They've invited you in this room several times and you somewhere. And then there are some people who are just prideful and be like, well, if they want to know, they need to come ask me.
See, no.
Okay, you hold that.
Stay
you
right.
hold that.
You
but
stay
you're
right.
going to watch somebody else go past or go further or get a raise or get something. And you're going to be like, well, why didn't they ask me that? Well, you didn't recognize your audience. And so a lot of times that happens. And I just try to, again, that's why it's important to me, because recognizing your audience is a game changer.
Correct.
And it quantum leaps you. It causes you to move at 4 times the pace that someone else moves who doesn't recognize their audience. Professionally, relationally, socially, mentally, financially, it's a game changer.
It can do it spiritually too if we really want to take it there. But I think a great example of that. I do remember after getting out of college and working at, I got a job working at Northwestern Mutual, to be very honest with you, back home. Most people don't realize that I started that position as a temp admin. I was temporary. I was an administrative assistant. I knew what skill set I had. I knew my ability I knew what my ability was. Within, I would say 7 months, 6 months, I was a director. Anyway, so I was a director of new business within a short amount of time. How did I get there? Because those individuals, I recognized my audience. We were talking about that right before we came on, my ability to walk into a room and scan the room and understand who people are and where they are and how to take advantage of opportunities. So I will never forget when I got a promotion to do things within like the technology field, and I had to ride with our managing partner to Arkansas. And within that time from us being in that car, I let him see aspects and depths of my knowledge and my expertise and my passion and things that I was good at within that ride there and that ride back. And it was not too much longer after that, I was director of new business. Now, I know for some people it'd be like, how in the world did that even happen? Because I could have talked about the sky. I could have talked about what I like to eat. I could have talked about music that I wanted to listen to. I could have fell asleep the entire time. But I recognized that in that moment, I had his undivided attention. And in the regular world, in the realm of what we did, I did not have his undivided attention because he had an administrative assistant. He had people that were constantly vying for his attention. He had people that were constantly doing other stuff. And within that time frame, he was able to see that Siobhan had the capacity to do more, to hold more, to be more. And when he gave me the opportunity for that, I ran with it. And I've always been that person. Give me a crack. You ain't even got to open up the door. Let a little bit of light shine through. I promise you I'm going to bust that thing.
Wait.
I promise you I'm going.
Okay.
And that is a part of recognizing your audience. And some people don't understand that. You get access to certain people at certain levels and you don't take advantage of that, you're in the room with certain people at advanced levels and you don't know how to take advantage of that. You're in the vicinity of people who have the ability to catapult your business, catapult your dreams, catapult whatever it is that you're looking for, but you're so busy being caught up in that moment that you don't see the opportunity that is there. And that's why I feel like it is so vitally important to recognize your audience and being able to maneuver between those two things. Like you have to. So if I go to visit you, LaSharon, and I'm sitting across from someone and I recognize like, this is an investor and they have the ability to make this dream come true, then I'm not going to be talking about how great Texas is and how much I love Texas toast and Mexican food. I promise you I'm going to segue that conversation into something where you're going to understand where I am. Now, if you don't bite on that, that's okay, but I promise you I'm not going to lose that opportunity. Yeah. I promise you I'm not going to lose that opportunity. And I feel like a lot of times that's where people miss things at. They're so busy trying to make people like them or make people notice them or show people how smart they are that you don't take a moment to just step back. And a lot of times, stop talking when you get places. Take a step back and observe. Take a step back and look around and literally just observe where you are. I mean, there's places I've been where I sit back and I'm just like, okay, there's a lot happening in this room and I don't know why I'm here. Okay, God, I need you to show me what it is that you need for me to do, because I'm not just here for no reason. So whatever it is that I need to get out of this moment, whatever you're trying to catapult me to or get me to do, like you let me know what you want me to say. Maybe it's just for me to listen. Maybe it's just for me to see that this is a possibility. Maybe whatever that case is, but I ask for wisdom a lot. So a lot of times when I'm sitting back, people are like, oh, you're always so quiet. No, I'm trying to navigate that room. I'm navigating everything that's going on, and I want to make sure that I make the most out of that moment. And so that is what I would tell people is one big thing when it's talking about you considering your audience or knowing your audience. Recognize where you are and how that can work for you. And a lot of times you don't, you know what I mean? So, I mean, even my business partner right now is in Orlando. He has people that are there that are 6-7 figure earners. Like you have people that are in spaces and in places that can catapult your business. Now you can get caught up on, girl, I ain't seen you in 2 years. You know what I mean? Or, oh, let's talk about this. Or, oh, there's a pool. Or, oh, there's food. Or, oh, there's that. Or you can sit back and say, you know what? There is knowledge here that I can get that I don't have to take 2 years like it took for them to get here. I'm going to catapult this and I'm going to reach there before the end of 2020. Like there's certain ways and certain things, you know what I mean? Like even
let me interrupt you, because people who have it like that, like people who are on this side of achieving what they've wanted to achieve are still achieving it. Like they are looking for people that they can share that information with. They don't want to waste their time. Don't get it twisted. They're not going to talk just on GP. But if they see that you're actually working towards something, not that you're sitting in the car waiting on somebody to come push you, but you out there trying to push the car yourself, they're going to be like, oh, let me help you. Let me show you this new way. You know what? Let's take this exit. Hey, I have AAA. Hold on. We got it. You know, like they're going to come and bring their resources to help you move what you're doing on. But again, you have to be in the room to learn how to navigate the room. And I just want to interrupt you for just a second, because I want to share this with people as it relates to like going to business conferences like ISHM or even your local chapter meetings. Man, get in those rooms and recognize the audiences that are in those rooms. Because that's how you're able to establish new relationships. That's how you're able to show the expertise that you have, because sometimes if you've been working in the same place 30 years, they already see you. They see your 30-year thing, and you may want to do something new. So go to these conferences, go to the local conferences, connect with people, interact with people, recognize the audience. Who's in sales? Who's management? Who's looking to hire somebody? You know, who's looking to be hired? All of those things go on. Who has opportunities that may not be in the department, but they run parallel to the department? You know, maybe they have companies that serve the field you've been in, and because of your insight and your knowledge and your familiarity with the processes, you are an ideal, whether it's a candidate, as an employee, a business partner, as an equal thing. Or maybe you say, you know what, I'm gonna start my own thing. Whatever it is, like that's how you recognize. You have to be around different audiences to recognize it. And when you have those opportunities, I want to share this too. You have to be mindful of who you go and share it with. Listen, a lot of times we have an opportunity, or somebody offers you a job, or somebody talks to you maybe about traveling or whatever it is. They talk to you about that thing, and then you go. You're excited about it, and you're like, I'm going to do it. All systems are go. Everything within you is tingling because you know, oh my God, I prayed for this. I've hoped for this. It's right here. I can really do it. And then you take that and you go and talk to someone who's never done it, who's never conceived it, they love you. They love you. Don't get it wrong, but they've never done anything like what you're talking about doing. And you let them make the decision or talk you out of making a move. You didn't recognize your audience. You're never going to learn to swim from somebody who's afraid of water
at all.
There are people who just like, man, I don't know, I've never heard that. Well, maybe they haven't, but maybe they've also never left the same 4-block radius. And if you want to grow, go and talk to someone who has done it. Go and talk to someone who has, left their job and went and found another job, went to another facility. Go and talk to someone who has started a business. Go and find the audience that can help. Okay, I went off on a tangent.
That is so key, because I think a lot of times people forget that. And this comes from where I think the most important part of recognizing your audience is highly important when it comes to your friends and when it comes to your family. Because just because you have a relationship with those individuals and just because you feel comfort with those individuals doesn't mean that you need to share every piece of information with those individuals. And so a lot of times what happens is you are trying to learn how to be an eagle from people who are only pigeons. And that does not make them bad. They don't have the capacity to. And so when you look at that, when y'all first take out and like on the ground, you got wings, I got wings. You got feathers, I got feathers. Oh, you can fly a little bit. Oh, I can fly a little bit. Oh, we both in this tree. Cool. So then it comes, well, let's keep elevating. Well, then why is that pigeon not able to survive? Why is that pigeon not able to breathe at this level? And then you also have other birds that can't fly as high, but just like where you have eagles, where when a storm comes, eagles are actually re-energized in a storm. They actually utilize the wind and all the elements from the storm to help them soar that much higher. And actually, like, they love the storm. And you wonder why you're struggling, because those people are gone. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking around, you're like, well, that pigeon and got knocked down on the floor. So then you turn around and you go down to find them, and then you're mad 5 years later because you're in the same place that you were 5 years before, not realizing that it's not that pigeon's fault because they didn't stop you. You stopped you. You turned back down there to check on them because they couldn't survive at the level that you were at. So
COVID has exposed that. COVID has really brought it out.
It really did. It really did.
Karen, there's a book. It's actually coming out. I think the release is November 1st, where they do the pre-sales. But I was able to read this book, and in it was talking about how COVID really did expose leadership.
It did.
And how, because COVID was a storm.
It was.
And so there are some people who are like, okay, whoo, and everything activated and they were able to go up. It doesn't mean the storm wasn't a storm. It doesn't mean that there wasn't wind gusts and lightning. It doesn't mean all the stuff that comes with a storm still wasn't there. But there were people who rose to the occasion. And there were also people who ran away.
Correct.
Just ran away, just left departments and didn't, and it's because the storm hits people differently. Right. And they still flying. Everyone is still a bird, as you said. Correct. And so audience recognition too with opportunity means that sometimes if you recognize, okay, now I'm gonna go chill with my friend. They live over on, maybe they live on Owl Street, or maybe they live on Chicken Street, whatever. I don't know what street they live on, because you don't know until you start flying. That's when you really begin to find out what your wings are really capable of. Everybody can say, I can do that, but will you do that? I can do that.
agree.
Go ahead.
I agree. I know
Yeah.
for a lot of individuals that I know and friends that are therapists and that are counselors, like they had an influx and an increase in people with anxiety and other issues. And I'm like, no, they're just realizing where their ability to navigate that storm. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times you can be the beat, like they used to tell us when I was in high school, you know what I mean? Like you can be the best when it came time for us to try out for like college cheerleading squads. Oh, you probably was the best cheerleader when you was in high school, but you get on this team, we're gonna see what you made of. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times what happened with people is in their own little realm of things, they were the bomb, they were flying, they were doing things great. They really thought that they had the ability to do certain things, because what also happens too, and I know you understand this as high achievers, a lot of times what other people consider to be great from us, we like, I'm not really trying. You know what I mean? You have other people looking at their stuff, talking about you're so awesome and you're so great and you're doing this, and you're like, man, I'm not even really putting forth any effort into that. And I think with and I'll just speak for myself, what COVID has did for me was like, oh, now I feel like it was like, now I'm going to require you to step out of this comfort zone where everybody else thought that you were really putting stuff into it and you know you were coasting. Now I'm gonna put you in situations where you can't coast. You can't do that.
COVID definitely opened it up.
COVID pulled some things back and uncovered. And so for a lot of businesses too, they've had to shift the way that they do business. And that's another thing of recognizing your audience. Because if you were a brick and mortar business and you were used to your restaurants, used to your same people and same couples coming in every day, and this is your Tuesday special, and this is your Friday special. Now you've had to shift to now where you have to do things online, or you got to deliver, you got to do other things like that. So now you have to shift in the way that you do your offerings to your business. So you have your audience recognition is now these aren't regulars that just know me. Now I really got to put a little bit of something extra into my customer service, because I'm just not, oh, I know how they are. That's just how they are. So a lot of people have had to shift that way. Now that you have a different audience, when you're online, your online presence versus your brick and mortar, your in-person presence, how do you speak to them? What is their level of understanding? Are they able to really read what you say that you have and understand what it is that you're offering? How do you communicate those same things that were so easy for you to do in person online? Because that's a different type of communication. Having communication and webinars and workshops and things in person is drastically different from having to do it online. And for those of us who are really good at audience recognition, because I pay attention to the energy in the room, I pay attention to the way people look, I pay attention to body language, I pay attention to language. When I had to shift and do these workshops where it's online and all I see is me, like I can't see the people, it changed, because I realized how much I rely on audience recognition in order to do certain things. I rely on those subtleties and those nuances from my audience to know when to shift, when to stay somewhere, when to pull back, when to navigate and move around. And it was a little struggle for me, because I'm like, I'm ready, but I'm like, I don't know if they get it.
You had to use something other than your eyes.
Yes.
A lot of times, definitely an entry-level position, if I don't see it, I don't know it as a problem. But as you move up in leadership, as you move up and you start, even things you don't see, you have to deliberately go and look into to see what's going on. You have to go and look into things that you cannot see. And so when it shifted and now it's online, you don't get to see your audience. You can't see them fidgeting as much. Maybe they just have their picture up there. And so you have to use other things to recognize audience, which is where language mastery comes in. You have to recognize it through language mastery. You have to know wording. What are power words? What are passive words? That's going to let you know how people are inside or are involved in something. It is a different thing. And so we just want to help people know about language mastery. But even before language mastery, about the audience recognition. And before we go, again, these are transferable skills. I guarantee you have an aha moment. One of the things is be mindful of who you're talking to. Who am I talking to? If you're going in the break room, Just because everybody's talking about something doesn't mean you have to engage in that. And if that's cool and that's where you are and you love where you are, you have to, know what kind of bird you are.
Correct.
All birds, listen, all birds can fly. Bottom line, all birds can fly. Everything that is made is fearfully and wonderfully made. So don't take, if you're a pigeon, don't be like, I'm only a pigeon. No, you ain't only a pigeon. You're a pigeon. You're a pigeon. You know what? Eagles don't get you. Pigeons are relational. Eagles are lonely. You know what I'm saying? So listen, own what kind of bird you are. There's greatness in there's greatness in every creation.
Correct.
Now, let me talk about the audience that we haven't talked about today. That is the most important audience. And that is the audience of self.
Woo! Talk about it.
That is the audience of self. Who are you talking to and who are you listening to? What's coming out of your audience's mouth? The audience of self. And so, again, we're talking about things that transfer. You can win. You know how people win the lottery and they're broke like within a year or 2 years? It's because that audience of self.
Yes.
The audience of self is not the best audience for them. They're gonna blame other people. But we have to know what the audience of self is saying. So ask yourself, if you get called to the office at work, or if the director says, hey, come up, I want to talk to you. Most times people are like defensive, what they want, what I do, whatever. And if you're going in like that, you're going in defensive, which means you're going in trying to close all doors. Like they can't get in, they can't put it on me. But what if that meeting is about an opportunity? What if that meeting is about something that you can help solve? So I'm not saying don't close. I'm not saying don't think about what are they calling me for. And it can be a growing or challenging moment, but also what do I have that they need?
Correct.
They're calling me in here. What do I have that they need? If they're asking me to sit at the table, maybe there's something that they feel I bring to the table. And so I just wanted to share that, because if you don't recognize the audience of self before you get to that meeting, you will have assigned things to different people and missed the whole opportunity. Also, the audience of self can have you blaming people who are coming alongside to help you, and you'll be looking at them as a threat. It's just, I want to hush. Tell me about the audience of self, Siobhan.
No, I love that. I think when it comes to, you are in like a vein. Woo, Jesus. When it comes to audience, because that's so key. And a lot of times we don't recognize that. We're so worried about the audience of everybody else that we don't even recognize the audience of self, because really what happens in between here, this ear and this ear is what's going to make a major impact and a major difference in what you're doing. And I think that ties into, I know last week we were talking about emotional intelligence, but I feel like the audience of self directly ties into emotional intelligence when you're talking about that, because you're part of that is self-awareness. You got to understand your own emotions and how it impacts your interaction with others. You got to understand what scares you, what motivates you, what fuels you, because you have to learn to use that to your advantage. You have to know what your own motivation is. Like, that's where it's negative self-talk, or I'll do it tomorrow, or grudges. Like, I'm just going to say this. Grudges is a waste of time. It is a total waste of your energy.
Yeah, it just sucks your lip.
So I need you to stop it. Stop it. It is a waste of energy and time that you're never going to get back. But then at the same time, you have to be able to have those social skills and that empathy too. So I am one of those people that whenever someone said, hey, Siobhan, we're going to pull you in the office, my mindset was never it was bad. I don't care what I did. My mindset always was, oh, they about to tell me what I can do to do better. Or they about to tell me I'm about to get a promotion or a raise. That was the mindset that I went into every meeting with. I remember the last job I had here in Florida before I was like, I'm gonna go back to being like an entrepreneur and doing my own thing. But I remember getting called to the office because they actually were mad at me because I decided that I didn't want to be at an event that they felt I should be at. And I was like, but I could be more productive by not going. So in my mind, I walked in there happy as can be because I was like, numbers. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And they literally, like they said, we were really about to do this, and this. But the way that you came in this room, they were like, you expected like good news. You came with an expectation as if something great was about to happen, and it changed the way that we're actually going to talk to you.
And audience recognition does that.
Yes, and they actually ended up giving me a promotion based on that. And what they said was that, Siobhan, we really need you to understand how your mood, your energy, your attitude impacts the rest of the people in this room. Like when you come in here and you're just like Siobhan, like everything is great. But they're like, when you're off days, everybody can feel it. So we need you to be aware of that. And they were like, that's not what we were going to say before you came in here, but since you in here. And so I want to tell people that too. A lot of times your audience recognition with yourself is understanding that when you're talking to you, what version of you is talking to you?
And you're going to export it. You know, I hear people all the time be like, it's so toxic there. I've been working there 6 years and it's just toxic. Every time I go in, and I just want to say, well, what are you bringing?
Yes.
What are you bringing? What are you bringing? 6 years? 6 years is either enough time to be like, this is not the place for me because this is not good for my health, for my mental well-being. It's not good for my esteem. Correct. If it's toxic all the time,
correct.
Remove. You're not a tree. Remove yourself from that situation. Or what can I bring? What can I bring to impact my audience? Remember, communication is about others. This whole thing about the T-Skill series, emotional intelligence, communication, everything, it's about others, but in it being about others, it benefits you.
Correct.
If you truly make it about others, not about being fake, not about trying to fake it till you make it, a kiss butt or something like that, or, you know, like do something that's not sustainable. It's not about that. It's about really recognizing, owning what needs to be owned, and leveraging it and being better for everyone else. Woo. And so with audience recognition, if you will think about your audience and what's going to benefit the audience, it's great. But you also have to be aware when the audience is something that's going to bite you in the butt.
Absolutely.
Listen, you cannot tell everybody everything. If you want to grow, one of the hardest parts of growing is realizing that the person you looking at, you like, man, I sure want to tell you this because it's good, it feels good, you happy about it.
Yep.
And you can't.
Correct.
Because if that's not the right audience for that, you have to be responsible with the information. You have to steward that information that you've been given, and you know that's not the audience for that. And that's part of leadership. That's part of recognizing your audience and recognizing that, especially if you are a new leader in a department, you have to be trustworthy. People have to have confidence in your ability to hold confidence. You know, that you can hold their stuff, that you are trustworthy. Correct. If not, yeah, you know.
That's so key that you said that, because I think that's something that most people don't understand. I know I've been in jobs where people purposely would say stuff to see where it would go because they know who they told it to. And so one of the things that I learned early on is it is impossible for an outsider to discuss insider information unless an insider gave them that information. And so you need to understand that when you are telling people stuff or you are venting to people, that you like recognize your audience. If you told them one thing and somebody else knew it, why would you trust them with something deeper? Like, you shouldn't. You honestly shouldn't. So you got to recognize your audience, and then your motivation behind wanting to share that information with a particular audience. What is your purpose of this communication, and what are you trying to extract from it? Recognize your audience. If everything that you say,
your audience.
Yes, if everything you say is coming back to you in a way that you didn't say it, recognize your audience, because you can do the process of elimination and figure out where that leak is coming from. And then you don't need to get mad at them. If you give that information again and it happens, they're not the problem, ma'am, sir. You are. So you recognize your audience.
You sound like me. Yeah.
Continuing to divulge information to that audience. And so I think when you're recognizing your audience too, a lot of that is understanding your motivation for saying and doing certain things, because there's a lot of things that just aren't beneficial for you. It's not going to be for your growth. So why are you doing that? And stop telling like dreams and goals. Like, we all have them. We all want them. We all want to achieve them, and we want to tell
everybody your business. I'll say it. I'm going to sum it up for you, professionally and personally.
Stop telling people stuff if they don't have the capacity to help bring it to fruition. That's what stopped me from telling people certain stuff. Like, I realized that I may want to tell them that because they're going to think it's cool because they're not at that level, but they don't have the capacity to help bring that thing to fruition. So then why are you even telling them?
Yeah. That's it. Hey, we've been talking for 1 hour and 6 minutes. I want to thank you guys so much for being with us. Are there any questions? Siobhan is a empowerment strategist. She does promote. I know you help people, girl. You help people get their credit and stuff in order. You also have a production company. She has a production company where she helps people with the brand and get themselves out there and format what they need to format. Do you guys are there any questions? I know there's a delay, but are there any questions that you want to ask myself or Siobhan about audience recognition? Especially if you feel like, listen, I've been doing this 10, 15 years. I've been doing it longer than them, and they're still not giving me a shot.
Right.
If there's a question you have, then ask us, and we'll wait about 1 or 2 minutes, and then we will close it out.
I love that. And there's no question that's too hard or too
small. Let's do this part on Saturday. I want to talk a little bit about knowledge and nonsense while we're waiting to see if someone has a question. Here's the thing with knowledge and nonsense. When a lot of the stuff went on with COVID, immediately I was like, there's so much misinformation out there. And within my personal business, Think on Purpose, I work with individuals on origin and intent. What are some of the thoughts and things like that? And so what we did, I was just like, it's so much misinformation. Black people can't get COVID. You have to be older to get this. Yeah. And I was like, what? I was like, listen, we have to be able to filter what's knowledge and what's nonsense. People are dying. People are losing livelihoods. Like, this thing is what? Well, I can't see it, so I don't feel sick, so I'm not sick. That's what asymptomatic means. But you're still carrying something. And so it was a lot of misinformation out there. And I was like, we're just kind of like, we don't want that. We need to help. We need to help our community in sterile processing because they're being told to reprocess single-use stuff. And it's like, what? We're being asked to do stuff that we, like, if we're in our window, that's something that would get us dinged. What do you mean? You can't do that. And also in the community outside of sterile processing, my community, it was so much misinformation. And so we set these things up. And so on Tuesdays, we talk only about sterile processing. We're in the department. What's going on with the equipment, the workflow, the processing. On Saturdays, we're out of the department for the same population. Like, listen, because just technical won't get you up the line. I don't care how good you are. You can be the best at what you do technically. But if you don't have the soft skills, the communication, the emotional intelligence, personality, I'm a human behavior consultant. If you don't have that part too, then it's limited. I don't care. Professional growth without personal growth is limited, and you will always feel imprisoned. Or like, oh, I'm so misunderstood. I'm screaming, no one can hear me. It's just misunderstanding. This is what I'm saying. Why am I going around the same thing? Take another lap, Moses. Take another lap, Moses. Take another lap around the mountain, round and around and around she go. That type of thing. And so that's what this is about. So let me see if there are any questions. Someone asked where you're from. I believe you're in Florida, correct?
I am. I'm currently in Florida right now by way of Oklahoma.
Okay, by way of Oklahoma, yes. Years ago. All right, here it is. Here's the question. Thanks, Teresa, for giving us a question. What is the best way to limit audiences with friends, etc., when not participating in discussions would not be your norm? Let me say, what is the best way to limit audiences with friends when not participating in conversations would not be your norm? Are you saying like you would normally talk and you want to limit that?
Because if that's the case, I have an answer for that one.
Okay, go ahead.
So stop. I mean,
Yes.
I could come
Yes.
up with something way more deep and way more intense and make those words. But for me, when I realized that my presence, not my words, my presence contributed to whatever that conversation was, I stopped. Because when you stop, even if you don't want to initiate that conversation as to why, people will start to notice that and they will naturally exclude you. And that ultimately, that's what you want. So if you're if you're having a conversation and you're laughing and talking and something comes up about gossip or talking about someone or spreading some information that you know you don't want to be a part of, just turn around and walk away. You don't have to stop announcing, first of all. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the reason for your growth, except for yourself. Get up and walk away. You ain't got to be like, well, y'all, this was fun and deep, but you know, I'm working on me, trying to make me a better me. So I don't want to be, you don't have to announce that. Just stop.
And when you do feel like you have to announce it, you want to ask yourself why. That's the audience of self again.
Yes.
That's the audience of self. That's that false responsibility.
Yes.
She was saying not gossip, but just hanging out. I noticed some people ask for advice, but are not ready to hear the truth. Most people ask for advice, but are not ready to hear the truth. Most people share an idea, but are not ready to do the work. That's most people. And that's part of audience recognition.
Yep.
You know, that's part of audience recognition, that when they ask for advice, I used to get frustrated when they would ask me things and I would give them counsel.
And they don't follow through?
And especially like I would give them counsel and they were like, oh no, they want to do this. And so I would not only give them counsel, but I would actually go and pull from my resources to be like, hey, listen, you asked me about this or this, and this, and this. And a lot of times these are not even my paying clients. These are just people who are in the vicinity, that friends and family vote, you know? And what I recognized is they didn't want you to do that anyway. They just wanted to talk about it. People talk about writing a book because it makes them feel good, as good as if they had written the book. But writing the book is actually a lot harder than just talking about I'm going to write a book. And so, yeah. She said it brings back to the a-hole. That's funny. In her, no, a lot of people ask for stuff and they're not ready for it. And that's okay. That's okay. Just recognize your audience. I mean, think about even yourself. There are things in your life people had to say more than one time. It had to come around again and again. And then somewhere it was just like, oh, like you like, oh, I can breathe up here. Okay, let's see what's going on. But other times it may have flown right over your head. And so, yeah, just because they ask for advice, but they're not ready to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at them for it. I used to be mad when I was a little younger and a little less mature in that area, but I don't get mad now. I just use that. If they don't move on it, or if they're cavalier about it, or if they're dismissive of something that I put work and effort into to share with them for free that they ask about, I used to get upset. I don't do it now. I don't do it. I don't do it. I put a price tag on it.
You have to. And stop.
I put a price tag on it.
Yeah. You can't expect you from other people. That's the problem.
Girl, that's so good.
We're expecting us from other people. Well, I would have responded. I would have did. I would have said. So, and I love that you said that, because you said you stopped. One thing that I learned is that, okay, so if you didn't do that, then accept people for where they are. And it makes you from where you are. It just, and look at that as, thank you, Lord, for letting me see, or, thank you for letting me see where you are.
Because here's the thing. Well, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have done this. Listen, when you get into that, that's kind of like control, manipulation. You are holding them, like you're holding something against them as if it's a deficit, because I wouldn't have done it. It's not a deficit, it's where they are. Remember, I said a pigeon can still fly. A pigeon got a whole lot of friends. Maybe you wouldn't have done that, but if you expect everybody to do exactly what you would do, oh, how lonely that place is. And that's why it's important to know you and your triggers and to be aware. And if you need to, reach out to me at info@ucdileadership.com. Let's do a personality assessment. Let me help you be aware of your blind spots. Let me help you be able to navigate some of those things. Because whenever you expect everybody to do something the way you would have done it or how it makes sense to you, you may be alienating them initially, but what's going to happen eventually, you're just going to alienate you. People aren't going to be fooling with you.
Correct.
Not for the good reasons, but period.
Correct.
Period. Because that's a controlling and a manipulative mechanism, and you may not be aware of it. I said a lot there, but yeah, you cannot expect you from other people. And don't be mad when the parts of you that you're not feeling show up in other people, because that's what you're exporting out there.
Yeah, that's a whole thing on itself, because I know I've had those moments.
No, man, we at 116. It gets good, doesn't it?
Because I realized the things that made me mad about other people were things about myself that I was unwilling to confront. And that's why I got so upset with them. And when I recognized that, and I'm not even saying that I am delivered from that, because there's still stuff now I'm like, ooh, that's an unhealed part of you, Siobhan. Ooh, Siobhan, that's the flakiness in you that recognizes the flakiness in them. And that's why you're mad, because you get to see how you did other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it don't feel good. But take it as a lesson for you to grow. Sometimes you got to step back and be like, man, I cut my own self. I got to heal that wound, and it don't feel good.
Listen, man, again, audience recognition. Y'all, I know it sounds like we're talking about other things, but all of this is audience recognition. Because if you recognize your audience, then you can understand the conversation more, then you can make the conversation more impactful, and then you can input into the conversation the things that you want to input, not ad hoc, not just, I'm just throwing something out there. No, speak intentionally. Yeah. Let your conversations have a purpose and be intentional in it. Hey, if you want to hear more of these weekly tips to help master transition, to know about language mastery, audience recognition, T-skills, anything like that, just text the word focus to 22828 to join our mailing list. Also, if you want to connect with me, Siobhan, I believe yours is on here too. I'm going to put it on here. Mm-hmm. I really believe the best way to connect with me is at my website, www.ucdileadership.com, or on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I encourage you to get one. Doesn't mean you have to be there every day, but you do want to check it 2-3 times a week. Get you a LinkedIn profile. If not, you can connect with me on Facebook, even TikTok. You can find UCDI. You can find those things. But LinkedIn and my website is going to be the best way to connect with me. And Siobhan, tell us a little bit about what you do with SR Productions.
Woo, so a whole lot. In the shortened version of that, I am an empowerment strategist. So what I do is I sit down with individuals. I help them understand how they receive, perceive, and disseminate information based on where they are in that given moment. I help you strategize things that's going to help you implement very specific strategies that are going to empower you to achieve different levels. And that's in many different things. So I work with individuals. Obviously, I'm a certified mindset coach. So I help individuals with overcoming certain things. A lot of times the reason why you're not able to break through certain plateaus, a lot of reasons why you're not able to achieve certain things, you're not able to sustain certain positions that you have, is based on limiting beliefs that you have, or based upon how your mind perceives and receives information. So we dive into that and we go into that and find the source of that, and we work on that. So I do mindset coaching there. I also, because you said it earlier, I am a financial literacy consultant. I help people with credit restoration. So for individuals who are looking to get into a home, looking to get into a car, looking to start a business, or just understand that your credit score is a part of like your financial obligation to manage debt, is essentially what that is. It's not an indicator of how much wealth you have, but it is an indicator of how you manage debt. So I'm able to help people raise their credit score. We actually do have 2 webinars today. One at, I guess if you're in Central Time, it would be 12 and 3. If you're in Eastern Time, it's 1 and 4. So definitely message me if you would like to be a part of that. I help people understand where they are in order to help them get where they want to be with that as well. So I do a little bit of that. You mentioned with SR Productions, yes, we are an event management and kind of like a management company where we help people with managing their events as well. But then it is a lot of branding in that as well. So how do you get how do you share with the world who you are, and how do you get that in a concise way so they understand you? Lots of fun things. I have so many other things to do with my, I know my business partner was on here as well, Malcolm. We do so many things together. But the best way for people to get in contact with me is just go to ShavonRobles.com, ShavonRobles.com. I'm also on Instagram at Shavon M. Powers. But I love this, finding ways for people to have, I love giving people those aha moments. That is what I need to do in every aspect of stuff. So whether you're trying to break through your mindset and you have an aha moment, or you're trying to work on your money mindset and you have an aha moment, I am there for that, because that is that's when things click and you're able to get yourself to that next level. So I love it.
I love it. And the one thing I know too, with most of the, I try to look for this with all of the guests that we bring on this show, they want the betterment for the audience. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of shiny things out there, but there are people who have walked through places that you may or may not be walking through now. And not saying that the people that we won't walk through those places again, but we'll walk through them more informed. And we understand stages of transition. We understand how to lean in now instead of being like the sky is falling. We understand, okay, I don't have time to repeat the sky is falling. Right. If the sky really is falling, I know that we need to construct a structure, there's some things we on this side, we know those things. Yeah. And so the people who come on the show always want the betterment of the audience. Yes. I want to say this for the travelers out there. My opportunity to work with travelers has brought me to this too. Recognize your audience. When you are brought into a place, you're brought into a place. You're not brought into the place by the person you're working with right next to. You're brought into the place from somebody on the upline who is signed because they need help. Whether someone's out on FMLA, maternity leave, maybe they just don't have people who are certified and can handle the volume. Whatever it is, they're bringing you in. And they're bringing you in at a premium. And so you have to be aware of your audience. Everybody may not be happy to see you in there. You know, most people aren't going to be, they may or they may not. Somebody may not be happy to know that you're in there and you guys have the same job description, but you may be getting paid more, or so they think, because they really don't know what you get paid unless you open your mouth. Recognize your audience. Correct. You in there bragging about how much money you made, and you don't recognize that the very person you bragging to is not happy about that, and that's going to create problems for you. And if it creates problems, then the people who brought you in are going to be like, listen, you're creating more problems than you're solving. And so now they want to let you go. And then you're upset. Like, I didn't even do anything wrong. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You created a problem for them. Correct. And so you want to recognize your audience when you go into those places. You want to recognize the person. Don't go in there and be like, oh, this is my friend. You've only known them 4 days. That's not your friend yet. Give yourself a good 3 weeks to a month. Begin to see patterns and establish patterns. You can see patterns of things. Be quiet for a little bit and observe. Recognize the room and then navigate the room. Don't go in there just like, yeah, shoot, letting your personal feelings influence your money and your professional integrity and your career trajectory. So for my travelers out there, I want you to recognize your audience too. There's no sense in discussing something with someone that cannot actively influence the outcome. If they don't have that authority, they don't have the positional authority, the relational authority, they don't have the budget, they don't have the oversight of the things that are needed to create a change, recognize your audience. More than likely, you're talking to the wrong person. You're having the wrong conversation, and that's going to have an adverse effect. Correct. It's going to have an adverse effect. And so I just wanted to share that with my travelers out there. You're out there, you're doing it, you're going into different places, making things better, living your life, getting to travel and learn and doing what you love. So you want to have audience recognition as well. Message.
That's
Message. So you can be mad and blame the people. They never want to see us. But if they're consistent, then you have to adjust. Correct. Once you see that audience, you have to adjust. And that's the emotional intelligence part of it.
Yes.
Got to do it. You got to pull on your big girl pants and your big boy pants, and you got to look at it, lean at it, peer at it, assess it, make an assessment. The same way you assess a department, you have to assess too. Assess my audience. What can my audience handle? What can they not handle? What conversation do I not want to be having 3 weeks from now? What conversation is it okay for me to have? And you have the ability to do that. So begin to be more intentional in how you interact with your audiences. Hey, listen, we've been on this thing an hour and 25 minutes. Siobhan, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. Those of you out there, audience recognition is a game changer. If you can master audience recognition, there's not a room that you walk in where you cannot intentionally, not being fake, not being phony, not being a bully. There's not a room that you can't walk in where you can't be like, okay, I can be on equal footing in this place. You have audience recognition. It has nothing to do with finances or anything like that. It's just audience recognition and knowing how to engage in conversation based on who you're engaging in it with.
Correct.
I love that. Y'all be safe. God bless.
Can I say one thing when you said the audience recognition, when you walk into a room, recognize that you are in that room for a reason. So I need you to walk in as if you own that room. You're not in competition with any of your audience members that are in that room, but I need you to walk into that room and command that room as if you own that room. That does not mean that you think you're better. That does not mean that you think you're arrogant, but I need you to be confident in who you are and the fact that you belong in that space. But also with that being said, know that there is something that you can take from individuals in that space. So that's not coming in with pride and haughty and I feel I'm better. That's just saying, I know that I belong in here because as much as I want to receive from this room, someone can also receive from me.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. Again, thanks so much. I love having these conversations with you. I look forward to the next time I'm in Florida or the next time you're in Dallas that we get together and just do what we do.
I know. You don't come to Dallas when it warms up because y'all cold right now. And I got on shorts right now. So
oh, that's right, because you're in Florida. I was gonna say your cold is not other people's cold. Right now, he can't make up his mind. I was like, it was warm. It was raining yesterday. Then it was warm, and now it's kind of cool.
Yeah, my mom said a cold front was coming through. She did say that. I think it's like 40 something or 50 something in Oklahoma, like where she's at. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let you keep all that because the sun is gonna be shining, and I'm gonna go put my toes in somebody's beach water and feel really good about my choices
right now.
Y'all are welcome to come visit me in this warm sun.
Oh my God! You know what? I think I might need to make it happen. We can travel now. We can travel.
Come on, I'm here for you. You already know.
I do. Okay, look, we gotta go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go out. I'm going to go out with a commercial. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Knowledge and Nonsense. This is a long show, so we'll break this down. But just come and get you some bite-sized pieces. Recognize your audience. The first person who comments on this and the sterile processing travelers and recruiters group, first one that comments, if you will, after you comment, I'm going to comment my email address underneath it, and I'll get you like a free book out or maybe a free t-shirt that says hold your form for the first person who comments inside the sterile processing and recruiters group. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend.
Those in the know SIPS Consults. SIPS Consults is hiring. Confident, competent, and consistent. Starting as a consultant and a volunteer, SIPS has grown into a dynamic group of stellar sterile processing professionals, offering excellent benefits, 401k, and consultant in training program. We are hiring certified technicians, leads, supervisors, interim managers, educators, coordinators. Apply at recruiting@sipsconsults.com or dial 1-866-615-7977.